Deion Sanders stepped up to the plate with his 86,000 football players in the transfer portal. But in all seriousness, when you look at the numbers around Deion Sanders and you look at the number of players that have been in the transfer portal, and you start to understand that I believe it's 64 of the 94 players that were on the roster for Deion Sanders, or excuse me, 84. 64 of the 84 players are gone at Colorado. 64 of the 84 are gone now. And 18 just since the spring game the other day entered the transfer portal. And it does bring up an interesting question. I would love to hear from you guys on this in the comments section. Do you believe that Deion Sanders is going to succeed on the football field at Colorado? Because I don't think any of us would even argue that he has been a rousing success at Colorado to this point. I mean, with the sellout of all the tickets, spring game aside, every football ticket for the upcoming season is sold out now. Thanks. I mean, like, it's not even arguable that Deion Sanders has been a successful hire at Colorado. But will they win games? Because ultimately, if Colorado does not win games, I don't know what the point of having Deion there is. Because if you're going to be the same old 1-11 Colorado Buffaloes that you were last year, and really the mediocre team that you have been for 10 to 15 years, Jake, I don't know what the point of going through all of this with Deion was.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously why he was brought in, to make you better in so many different areas, whether it's on the football field or in your, in your branding, if you will, or changing the image of the school, getting educational standards lowered a little bit so that more athletes can come into the university and make an impact. Like, there are a lot of reasons to like Prime, but yeah, ultimately it's all for naught if you can't win football games. And I think, there's been a lot of speculation. We've even had meltdowns on this show about how many games Prime is going to win in year one. And I think that's what everybody kind of is looking forward to and trying to figure out, like, is this guy going to be bowl eligible? Is it going to be a 2-win season? Like, what does it really look like? And I think the big thing for Prime is just making sure that the kids he's able to have stay, who buy into the way he coaches, buys into the culture, buys into the way of life that is playing under Deion Sanders. He needs those kids to stick for a while and really, play out their 2-3 seasons with him. And hopefully Shedeur Sanders, his son, is good enough to be a quarterback for 3 years under him, or 2 years, I guess it'd be under him. Hopefully that's what you get out of the quarterback position, and then that way you can have some reliability moving forward. But all this, video stuff and all this stuff off the field doesn't matter if you don't win anything. And I think that's what people are really, truly skeptical about. So when you see, hey, 64, the 84 that you had last year are not even here, and now you've got like 17 kids, going into the portal in one day, that's not a great look for Prime in a new program. That's just not what you want to be seeing in the headlines. So that's why I think people are a little bit sort of, walking on eggshells with Prime, trying to figure out, is this guy legit at the P5 level or is he not? And that's what I think we're waiting for. I think it's a legitimate question. I mean, I think I have no doubts that Shedeur Sanders can do the job. I mean, he's a hell of an athlete with a great arm. Yeah. He has shown an ability to learn and be nimble on his feet. I have no doubt. The question is, how long will it take Deion Sanders to build even a two deep now? You had 84 players on scholarship when Deion arrived last fall or whenever it was. 64 of them are gone. So that's culture, talent. That's a striking number. You have lost 64 of your 84 scholarship players in a matter of months. Mm-hmm. I think that is stunning. I think it's absolutely stunning. And actually, it's within the last 3 months that those 64 players transferred. It is shocking. I don't see how this year they eclipse 3 wins. Because you're not going to have a depth of talent. And I know we've talked about this repeatedly. Repeatedly, we've talked about this.
But when you play a spring game on Saturday, and by the end of business Sunday, you had 13 players, and now as of this morning, it was 18 players in the transfer portal who played in that game. That's shocking to me. And I don't understand how you fix it. And I don't understand how Colorado, and I know we've had fierce debates on this.
Yeah.
I have no idea how Colorado is going to compete this year. I mean, they're going to field a team. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But when 64 scholarship players transfer in a matter of weeks, dude, that's not something to take lightly. And again, I know that Prime preaches culture and it's not good enough what we've done here, and I totally understand that. 64 scholarship players, 18 in a matter of 24 hours. That's massive.
Yeah.
And even for the biggest Prime apologists, which you tend to be on YouTube.
That's right, T.
That's right.
I don't know that you can write that off.
No, I don't think you can write it off at all. And I think the real question is are these kids in the transfer portal because he doesn't like them or because they don't like him?
Well,
I mean, that's the question, because if he's telling them to transfer because he doesn't see them as a fit under his coaching staff or in his program, that's one thing, right? If you're telling these kids to go, that's one thing. But it's a completely other thing. It's a completely different beast, if you will. If these kids are like, yeah, well, not really feeling playing under Prime, not really, it's not really my culture. I don't really fit in, or, whatever the feelings might be. And I think that's what people have a lot of reservations about. Like, what exactly is going on in Boulder? What exactly, is causing these kids to leave? And I think Deion is a great coach. There's no doubt about it. But the trouble he's going to have is getting, the roster that was to flipping the roster that needs to be and having some semblance of depth heading into the season. I mean, that's the biggest challenge. Like, you're literally talking about creating a roster, 80% of a roster, basically, 85% even, of your roster you flipped over, and now you got to teach them the playbook. You have to instill leadership. You have to make them strong. You got to get them locked into the process. Like, there's just so much there. So that's why I think people are a little concerned about Prime. But again, I always maintain, as the biggest Prime apologist on YouTube, if anybody was going to do it, Prime would do it. If anybody was going to come in and shock the world or overachieve or do things that nobody thought he was going to do, I feel fine saying Prime would be the guy to do it if someone was going to.
Sure, you can roll with that. I don't care who you are. When you lose 64 scholarship players and 18 of them in just a couple of days, dude, stop. Like, there's no way to spin that. I mean, you're just not going to have the depth that you need to compete. And there's no doubt the Deion Sanders, the Hunters, all of these guys that he's brought in some very talented players. And he will continue to bring in talented players. There's no doubt about that. But you look at the news out of the Pac-12 today, Alexander from Georgia going to USC. Do you understand just how deep USC is? Do you understand how much more talented USC is just through the transfer portal? And then you add their recruiting class on top of what they did in the transfer portal. They're arguably the most talented team in the country. There's no question there that USC is the most talented team in the conference. I look at Colorado. You're not going to TCU and beating TCU. You're not. The real question is, like, I was looking at Matt Rule today. He has not had a ton of transfers at all.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the things that you have to recognize is you can't just come in and we're going to do it my way. Okay, that's cool. Let's do it your way. But let's keep some players around to get their ass kicked for a couple of months, in October and November, and then we can continue to do it your way. Because when you let all of those kids walk out the door, again, there's just no way to spin this idea that you're not talented enough. This is no longer, this is no longer Jackson State. You just don't have the talent to put on the field. Football is a meat grinder, dude. It is an absolute ass kicking. You need probably 150 kids just to get through the days. You're not going to have that at Colorado this year. You are going to have, I guarantee you, mark it down on April 25th. Oh, injuries were a real problem in my first year at Colorado.
Yeah.
Mark it down. Because when you have this flat of a two deep, and I mean straight line across, where there are only probably how many kids that are special at Colorado? 5 now? Maybe 7? When you have that little talent in your cupboards, man, I'm telling you, you can't afford a single injury. And you know football hurts, and you know what's going to happen. And you know the excuses are going to become part of this now. And I don't know. I'm not trying to be like a naysayer, but you look at their schedule again. Here's their schedule, and you find me 3 wins when you don't even have a complete 2-deep. At TCU, Nebraska, Colorado State, at Oregon, USC, at Arizona State, Stanford, at UCLA, versus Oregon State, versus Arizona, at the Palouse, Washington State, and at Utah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, on that schedule, TCU, Oregon, SC, UCLA, Oregon State, I'll even throw Arizona and Utah in there. Utah, without a doubt, is one of the most talented teams. I think they're top 3 teams in this conference. And we can talk all about the rivalries of years gone by, and come on now.
Mm-hmm.
Come on now. I just don't see it at Colorado, and if I'm being too much of a pessimist, please feel free to let me know that.
I don't think you're being a pessimist saying that the schedule's tough and that they don't have a complete 2-deep. I mean, that's
a problem.
It's pretty spot on, yeah.
Tanner Plummer says, what up, guys? I don't like Prime. I don't think Prime is messing up at Colorado. Massive exodus in the transfer portal is just the way college football is right now. Not like this.
Yeah.
Not like this. That's just me, though. I don't see it like this. LV Seminole, surely Deion has enough butter for all of the toast.
See what he did there?
But does he? But does he?
That's a big-ass loaf, man.
I got a big-ass loaf. Mr. Tinfoil Man, still talking about 1-11 Colorado. No, I'm not. 1-11 Colorado was last year.
Yeah.
This is a completely different Colorado football team.
But maybe that's one of the best points we can make on this conversation. Maybe 1-11 Colorado is this year still. The only difference is that expectations changed. I mean, if they go 1-11 in year 1, would anyone be like, if they went 1-11, would you guys be surprised, or would you be like, yeah, well, it's 2-deep was not 2-deep, and he lost all those kids early in the year, and they got their ass kicked several times, would 1-11 be embarrassing? Yeah. For Prime as a man, yeah, it would be embarrassing. For Colorado as a program, no, not really, because that's who they've been. So, yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to say we're still talking about 1-11 Colorado, I guess that remains to be seen. But I think the obvious difference is that there's so much more expectation now because Prime is there.
Yeah, I don't know. This just feels different to me. This feels like a real makeover. C. Kaufman, hi all. Ready for a great program. Appreciate that. Jay Chapman, I don't understand the whole research money hang up.
Bro.
You still don't. Is this?
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I'm just asking. Is this now a daily troll on this show? Is that what this question is? Is this just, how can I be a complete cock? Hey, I don't understand the research money thing.
There's nothing you can do to me to make me do it.
Can you guys delve into that?
No, we can't.
Do you know how many times on this show I've explained this back and forth, upside down? Bro. Yeah, seriously, somebody call God, because I'm not doing it again today. I'm not
after the absolute meltdown that we had on yesterday's program and in the members only Instagram chat about Tucker Carlson, we need to save some energy on the educational money portion, because people get pissed about that conversation.
I didn't really understand the Tucker Carlson meltdown yesterday.
Yeah, I don't get it. I actually thought it was a good conversation. I think that the whole thing is you know what it is. People just make it personal. That's all. People relate it just to themselves, and they can't share opinions, and it just is. It's the same old conversation. Like it's kind of crazy.
Derek Myrie says, yes, Deion's in over his head. Sebesta says, that's why we play the games on the field. Mr. Tinfoil Man says, so is there only 20 guys left? The stat that he's referencing there is when Deion got to Boulder, he had 84 guys on scholarship, 84 football players on scholarship. That number is down to 64 players today. 20 scholarship players that were there when Deion got there remain. That doesn't mean he only has 20 players on scholarship. That's not what that means. So we'll see, Jay Chapman says, in general, silence comes from massive noise. Okay. I mean, we'll see. I mean, there's been massive noise around the Pac-12.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. Robert Moffat, a member of the program, burning a roster to rebuild it. You either are a genius or an idiot based upon results.
Dude, that's spot on, bro.
My guy, Robert, you're not wrong.
And that's how I look at it.
I swear TV. Okay. Depends on the guys he's about to announce he has committed. He had over 30 transfers visit at the spring game. He did, and I'm still waiting. Saul Goodman, not by the looks of it. Okay. J.K. Marshall, dudes, give Sanders a few years. He inherited a legit dumpster fire. Well,
what fun would that be?
If you're Deion Sanders, do you get a few years with the expectations the way they are?
I mean,
I don't know. Do you?
I mean, certainly in year one, you have to be better than 1-11. I mean,
I think certainly you have to be.
I think year one, your minimum expectation is 4 wins. I think you gotta win a quarter of your schedule, or 4 games. Like that's like, I don't know. I just feel like 4 is the number. Like 1-11 is completely just unacceptable.
Yeah.
2 feels like you had a letdown. 3 is like, meh. But at least if you won 4 games, you're like, all right, yeah, we won 4 games, and the rest of the schedule was a Pac-12, which kicked our ass like every week.
Yeah. Provo Cougar fan, don't know how successful he will be, but he can't be any worse. No, he could go winless. Not to rain on your parade. Renee Roca, he could pull an Art Briles. Okay, see. Settle down. Let's not get crazy. Let's see, Blazed Bunny. LOL, mediocre team is being really nice. I would agree. Ron McClure, ASU rebuilding. It has full 85 now. Dillingham's done a nice job. I'll give him. And I think all 85 of those scholarship players are quarterbacks. I could be wrong.
Dilly.
I could be wrong.
So many quarterbacks too.
Dude, ASU has got, everybody. Every former Notre Dame quarterback and BYU quarterback ever is on scholarship at Arizona State.
Yeah.
It's fine. Jay Chapman says he's running off players from a 1-11 team. I don't think they're losing much. Right, but you still need players. Just even for like your 3, 4, 5 deep for practice that are at least quality. And that's the thing that I think people don't think about. Everybody's like, well, you only need 22 guys to compete every Saturday. Well, what happens on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday when you're trying to do practice and you need over 100 guys and you need training camp and you need off season and you need weight room, and it takes 100 to 150 players a year to run a football program.
Yeah.
It's not like we just got like in the NFL there's only 53 guys. What has that got to do with the price of tea in Boulder? Nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's a totally different game in college football. And I would even say more than that, injuries are far more damaging in college football because you don't have the quality of athlete that you have in the NFL in college football. And Deion's going to struggle, in my opinion, to have a Pac-12 caliber 2-deep. I don't see how that's possible at this point. Because if you're transferring into the Pac-12, I believe you're either going to USC or you're going to hell.
Yeah.
It's one of the two. Pretty much. Better Call Saul says UCF getting recruits, though. Yeah.
Okay.
And Deion's going to get recruits. It's just going to take 3 or 4 cycles for him to really get after it.
Yeah, and I think, that's the other question with Deion. Like, okay, you did what you did at Jackson State, but now can you take the 3-star kid and turn him into a 5-star? Can you take that average player who's good enough to be on the field but not good enough to make a difference and turn that guy into someone who is smart enough from a football acumen standpoint to make plays. And I think that's what remains to be seen with Prime. But hey, for the people who are commenting saying, hey, yeah, he's cutting the fat out of a 1-11 program and sending those kids out and bringing new kids in. Hey, maybe he is. I don't know, but I tend to agree right now, right here today, it's not a great look that all those kids jumped into the portal at once. Like, if you want to do 3 or 4 a day, okay, great. But 17, 18, damn near 20, like, what, hey, okay, we got to start asking some questions here. And yeah, there were recruits at the spring game, but those are recruits. They're not Colorado football players, and I think that's what people forget. Wow. Hey, you can come and visit, but if you're not impressed by Prime, let's say, or you weren't impressed by the campus or whatever reason you wanted to find not to play for Prime, you can not play for Prime and don't have to come back. That's the problem.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's really interesting to see exactly how all of that pans out. And I know that's just our opinions we're throwing out there. Like, I think, we'll see. I think it's going to be incredibly interesting. Jim Choi, you got to be a dog to play for Coach Prime.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Ron McClure says Dillingham is the best new coach in the Pac-12. Well, in all seriousness, the quarterback battle he's got going on, just looking at reports like, I think you're probably looking at Drew Pine. Rashada I think he's your long-term guy. I think Drew Pine is a guy that's probably going to get you through year one. But it's going to be interesting to see, like Clayton Smith's a really interesting player on the edge. Everybody's been raving about him. It's going to be interesting to see what they look like. And by the way, I would not sleep on Arizona. I still maintain that Arizona is a really bad MFer in the Pac-12. Like, they are not going to be easy to deal with.
Facts.
I think Jaden Delora is going to be a heck of a lot better at Arizona this year than he was last year, just knowing the system. And I think when you look at, you look at the way that guys like Justin Flo and Bill Norton from Georgia, like, going to Arizona, like, they're going to be better. And I'm telling you now, this conference, and I know how maligned it is with the TV deal.
Yes.
But you look at the top of this conference, USC, Oregon, Utah. I think it's going to be that next cut of teams. The Oregon States of last year are going to be, there's going to be a plethora of those.
Yeah.
And I am curious, by the way, how DJ Uiagalelei does at Oregon State. Like, I'm curious what they look like. I'm really curious what Dillingham and Arizona State look like, and how much better Arizona is. And by the way, what's UCLA going to be this year? They're going through massive change in Westwood. Like, I think this is going to be one of the most intriguing conferences, and I just don't think Deion Sanders and Colorado are going to be a factor in once you run their schedule. And again, I'm not trying to be, Danny Downer or anything.
Right.
But, dude, you look at the schedules around the conference.
With all due respect,
I don't know that many have a more difficult schedule than Colorado.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about opening up at TCU. And then your road games are TCU, Oregon, Arizona State, UCLA, Washington, and Utah. Washington State and Utah.
Yeah, I mean, that's brutal.
My
dude.
God.
I mean, that's a really difficult schedule. And I think
it's crazy.
The thing...
And and by the way, you get USC at home.
Yeah, and I think obviously that's a loss, but the question is, there's really two questions here, and one of them you already know the answer to, which is, okay, that schedule is going to grind them the F out, if you will. That schedule is going to put a lot of guys on the injury report, year one. It just is like that's the nature of the beast. But I think the real meat of this conversation as it pertains to Prime is, can he coach them through 4 wins a season? Because that's the thing that I wonder about, even as a Prime apologist, which I am 100%. I believe in the guy. But Prime has never really been in a situation in his life, like as far as sports is concerned, don't know about his personal life, but in life, he's always been the best guy, the star, the shining figure. He's always been in situations where he can find his way to success, and I love what he did at Jackson State. I really do. But there's no denying the fact that this is not HBCU land anymore. This is P5 D1 college football playoff level stuff. So to me, if you're a 4-win team, in year one, like let's say you have 2 wins and you're in week 8, week 9, like you're just getting your face kicked in repeatedly over and over
even
again.
if you look at USC,
yeah.
I mean, adding Bear Alexander to that, like you know that USC has historically had defensive issues. I mean, if you think who are the two, 3 worst teams in this conference, I think. Clearly, Cal and Stanford, right? I think most of us would agree.
Yeah.
I'm interested in what Washington State turns into, but I think right now you got to put them certainly. I think
it's garbage.
You got to put them in the bottom half. I look at this conference. I don't know that there's a bottom half. I know that we're looking at Oregon, SC, Utah, and I hesitate to say UCLA can have the same year that they had last year, at least out of the gates, right?
Yeah.
But you look at the bottom of the conference, can you really sit here today and say that people are going to feast on ASU? Because I can't. Can you say that they're going to feast on Arizona? I can't. You know who's in the bottom of this conference? Cal, Stanford, and Colorado. And I think that's going to be very interesting to see. How long is Deion Sanders down? How good is Deion Sanders actually at building a roster and building not a 2-deep and not a 3-deep, but a 4-deep at every major position on the football field?
Yeah.
And where will his positions of weakness be? Is he a guy that's going to struggle to recruit offensive line? Maybe that's him. Is he a guy that'll struggle at linebacker? Maybe that's him. I don't know. But we don't know who Deion Sanders is as a major program football coach. And we're about to find out. Because when you turn over this much talent, you don't have 44 of the top guys in the country playing on your football team.
Yeah.
Right? If we think about what does a 2-deep truly represent? 22 guys on offense, 22 guys on defense. Take your shoes off. That's 44 football players. Deion Sanders doesn't have, and I don't know how he would, right? He doesn't have 44 Division I football players on that roster right now.
Yeah.
64 of the 84 scholarship players that were there when Deion got there are no longer there.
Pack your shit. Let's go.
Like, it's simple math. You can't, this is not garbage in, garbage out. That's not what this is, right? Or in this case, garbage out, quality in. That's not what this is.
Schlep Rock.
Because just based on volume, when you have a guy that is one of the top 44 players on a Pac-12 football roster, he probably has multiple destinations he can pick from. And that should be the advantage of having Coach Prime. And I think one of the best staffs in college football, frankly. They should be able to close guys like that. But is Deion Sanders really closing guys over Lincoln Riley at USC? He's not. He's not. And Bear Alexander's a great example of that. Why is Bear going to USC and he's not going to Colorado? Because the fucking guy wants to go to the NFL draft.
Yeah.
And he wants to do that after this coming season.
Yeah.
That's why he's not going to Colorado. And that's what you can't get away from. And if you look at Kyle Whittingham in Utah, the precipitous climb didn't come year 2, year 3, year 4. It came like year 7 is when you really saw depth and quality at skill positions. Now, I don't think with the transfer portal and NIL, I don't think it's going to take that long in Boulder.
Yeah.
But it's certainly not going to be hitting a switch and all of a sudden, the Buffaloes are roaming the prairie here.
Yeah, and I think that's what's tough. Like, if you're a kid that wants to go to the league next year, like you want to play this season, then you want to be in that following draft, you're not going to go and play for Prime because you understand that the situation he's in currently doesn't support what you're looking for. But I think the thing that's super important in that, I don't believe that's an indictment on Prime. I think that's an indictment on his situation. And I'm not saying you're bagging on Prime, but I think it's really easy to be like, I think it's easy for the masses, the troll in the comment, the haters, it's really easy for them to be like, oh yeah, nobody wants to go and play for Prime. They want to go to SC and the future Big Ten. That's where they want to go. And I don't even disagree with that 100%. Like, I think that's, that's pretty spot on, that a lot of kids see the path to the Big Ten and want opportunity. I totally get it. But I'm telling you, the conference, assuming they get a TV deal and assuming they do survive, if you're a kid looking at this conference, Deion's going to be, if he figures it out, if it goes how it usually does with coaches, He's going to be the ticket in the conference in 3 years.
Yes,
but
he will.
Right now, he's not the ticket.
And I think that's the point.
Yeah.
I think we as the media, we as the people that talk about the Pac-12 on a regular basis, we as the people that talk college football every day,
Yeah.
I think we have to temper the fire a little bit. Because I think a year from now, we're having a different conversation. But there's no way to spin the fact. And I think he said after the spring game that he had 20-something openings, right? He had 20 roster, let's call it 20. They had 20 roster spots that he believed he needed to fill. Man, it's April 25th. It's April 25th.
Yeah.
That's a lot of roster spots to fill. And if you look around college football, like I look at this story today with Notre Dame. Notre Dame losing a guy that was probably going to be their starting quarterback, right? In Buckner. But did Tyler Buckner really leave Notre Dame just to go find a home and he has no idea where he's going? No, did you guys see the story that he put on his portal because a lot, and I don't know how many people know this or even care, but in the college football transfer portal, you can denote do not contact. Like it literally says next to his name, DNC.
Yeah.
Do not contact because he's going to Alabama. And why is he going to Alabama? Tommy Rees, his former co-head coach and offensive coordinator, is now the offensive coordinator for Nick Saban at Alabama. So, and I bring this up today because that's generally how the transfer portal, in my opinion, and really a lot of people's opinion, kids are going to get into the transfer portal after they have a destination already. And there are going to be the bottom feeders in college football, the third string, fourth string guys, they don't have relationships. They're like, oh yeah, come play over here. I guarantee you Tyler Buckner's like, yep, I have a Tommy Rees, we've talked, like,
yeah,
has to be. But notice he didn't say, well, I want to go play for Coach Prime. I want to go, hey, I'm Bear Alexander, defensive tackle from Georgia. I want to go play for Coach Prime.
No doubt about it, NFL guy.
So I'm just saying, like, I just think we have to come down a little bit on Deion Sanders. Mm-hmm. Let him build. That's what I'm saying. Derek Myrie says he will be fine equals 8-4 this year. He will not be 8-4 this year.
No, there's no way, dude.
If Deion Sanders is 8-4, I don't know what I'll do. I'll drink more. I'll drink more Bucked Up, the official energy drink of the Monty Show, right here. If they go 8-4, because I have no idea on what football planet would Deion Sanders take this group of hooligans, right? This group of ragtag football players who are all coming together, right? How on earth is he going to take a group of strangers, put them together, and win 8 games in the Pac-12? And by the way, when you're non-con schedule,
dude,
and this is kind of my point, right?
Yeah,
this is kind of my point. Okay, so you're Colorado, and your non-conference schedule is TCU on the road, Nebraska with Matt Rule as the new head coach, in Colorado State. Okay, hell, I'll give you Colorado State. Where are you gonna get 7 more wins? You ain't beating Oregon, USC, and I really think he's going to struggle on the road at Arizona State. You're going to beat Stanford, there's 2. You're going to lose at UCLA. You're going to lose against Oregon State, excuse me. Throw in Arizona, there's 3. You're going to lose at the Palouse, and you're coming to get your ass kicked in Salt Lake City.
You're so fucked.
You're going to win 3 games. You're going to win 3. I don't know. Yeah. This hasn't changed. And listen, I understand you went full Monica Lewinsky smoking his cigar for like a month now on the show. I totally get it. But at some point, you're going to understand that when you need a little zip, you pull out a can of Bucked Up Energy, right? And you just give it a sip.
There is no question.
Dudes, Miami, creme de la creme. In the description below, make sure you click the link. Free samples. Don't take my word for it. Don't. In those free samples, you can pick any sample that you want. You want their hydration, their IV line of hydration products, free samples. You need a really good ass-kicking pre-workout, free samples, buckedup.com, right? Like, it's all right there in front of you. Click the link in the description below. get the samples, but you're really not trying to get the samples. You're trying to get the shaker cup. Because I'm telling you now, the Bucked Up Shaker Cup is the best shaker cup in the business. Had it at the gym this morning. Dropped it on my way out to the garage. Did it break? No. Did it leak? No. Did the top spring open? No. No, it did not. Because the damn thing is bulletproof.
Yeah.
That's what I love about Bucked Up Shakers. Get it right now in the description below. And listen, you decide you need the collagen. I had a great shake this morning. What Bucked Up products do I put in my shake every single day? I put in the greens, and I put in the Bucked Up collagen for skin and hair. And you know why I use Bucked Up? Because it just works. It just works. It does what it says it's going to do. And I'm a 50-year-old dude coming off of a perfect colonoscopy. Perfect. No polyps, no issues, nothing. Perfect.
Yeah. Unlike Prime.
You know what I'm saying? Get your greens. Get your greens from buckedup.com. Use the promo code Monty to get 20% off at checkout at Bucked Up Energy, the official energy drink of the Monty Show. J.K. Marshall says, LOL, Monty's so critical of 64. 1 in 11 legacy players leaving. But it's not 1 in 11 legacy players. This is, and tell me if I'm wrong. And J.K. Marshall, look, stud, I'm talking right to you. Me and you right now. I'm the captain now. Well, you can be the captain. Anyway, the point is,
You're a douche.
Let me tell you something. Don't think about it as 1 in 11 legacy players. It's October. It's Halloween week. Boulder, Colorado. 37 degrees out. 7 in the morning. You're in the weight room with all your teammates. And you've got 10, 11 guys injured. So those 1 in 11 legacy players that walked out the door today, are they of any value? Okay. Well, now it's 2 o'clock and you're on the practice field. You've gone to class. You feel like shit because you're tired. Your body hurts. You've lifted weights. You went to class. You probably ate. You haven't taken a nap yet. You go to football practice. You're on the field. And you don't have 55 guys on defense. You don't have 44 guys on offense because you're injured. Your 2 deep's already probably shredded because of your schedule. So now you're telling me those 1 in 11 legacy players who probably weren't bad players. They were in a bad atmosphere. The environment was not that of a winning environment, right? It's Boulder, Colorado, man. It's an incredibly difficult place just to get a B on a test. So, by the way, you're mentally tired from going to class all day. You think those 1 in 11 legacy players, you think that was just a pile of trash humanity? Because it wasn't. It wasn't. And this is what everybody's issue with the I'm coming speech from Deion Sanders is. And a little bit, it's mine. I loved it. I thought it was the exact right message. But here's the part that's missing. When you say I'm coming and it's Louis, and you're talking about how all these guys are going to get wiped out, you forsake and forget and write off their effort and their energy. And maybe they didn't have the best coach. And maybe they didn't have the best coaching staff. And maybe they didn't have the best training table. And maybe they didn't have the best, strength and conditioning people. And maybe the academic system was set up wrong for that kind of learner. You have no idea. So just writing them off as shitty 1 in 11 players is actually a real disservice to who they are as men.
Maybe your mom didn't go to heaven.
Because I'm telling you right now, playing college football hurts and it's hard. And there's a lot more that goes into a 1 in 11 record than just a pile of shitty football players whose name appear on a list that we want to get rid of.
Damn.
I'm just telling you guys, like, we can sit here and if you want to spin, this probably isn't the show for you.
Yeah. Because
I'm telling you now, those 1 in 11 legacy players that you so readily write off as just terrible football players are not terrible football players. And you know when they become valuable? Not that they turn into your first string guy, because none of them dudes were beating out Shedeur Sanders. But I'll tell you this, the receiver that left Colorado on Sunday morning and put his name in the transfer portal, he was going to be their number 2 wide receiver behind DeAndre Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
So the value is that now you got to go find another receiver to fill a 2 deep.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem. And I'm just telling you, man, you can continue to write them off. It's a mistake if you continue to write them off.
Yeah, and I think it's just tough. Like, I think, part of Deion's swag, if you will, or part of his process, or like, what he does and how he goes about it is he wants his fingerprints on every little detail. I think that's part of his, his modus operandi, if you will. It's got to be all his guys doing it his way, and then he's able to control everything. And I think he wouldn't be a big fan of inheriting, 80 some odd players. You knew you weren't all going to stay, but I guess the point just is that all those guys jumping in the portal at once is just kind of a bad look and kind of puts people in a place where they're like, yeah, your number 2 or the guy who was going to be your number 2 wide receiver inevitably winds up in the portal. You're going to lose some of those guys.
And I think Travis Hunter is the perfect example of this, because it's not one of those things where you can just simply say, well, we've got Travis Hunter who's going to play 2 ways, because I think this conversation's been really interesting as well. Does Travis Hunter play 2 ways at Colorado? Does he play wide receiver and corner? I don't know. It's an interesting question.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because it's a hell of a lot easier to do that at Jackson State than it is at Colorado.
Without a doubt.
Because you're in a track meet as a corner, you're in a track meet every single snap. In this league, you're in a track meet every snap. So,
Yeah.
Check it out says, I think Hunter is ranked top 5 for his position in the U.S., but but the rest of the team, I don't know. Good luck. Well, Travis Hunter's a hell of a player. Listen, it's not that they're not talented, but having even, let's say you have 11 5-star top line players at every position on offense and defense, 22 top tier players.
Ready to go.
You're not going to win. You guys, I'm telling you, you need 100 players. You need 50 offense, 50 defense. Do you understand the machine and the wrecking ball that offensive line is in a league
is the name of the game,
where you're pass blocking and you're RPO blocking a lot? And with Shedeur Sanders, that's a lot of his game.
Yes.
Because he's got a gifted arm, but it takes time to get balls down the field in college football. So you need 50 guys aside, and that's minimum. And then you think about the guys that get hurt in practice, and you think about, the summer, like the off season, it's just a lot of humanity. And 22 of the let's say you have the top 22 college football players in the country.
Yeah.
1 through 22 on your defense and offense, you're still not going to compete for a national championship.
I'm a man.
Because it's not your starting 11 on both sides that makes you great. It's the bottom 25% of your roster that wins you championships.
Yeah.
It's the simple reality of it.
Yes.
It's just a simple reality of it. Better Call Saul says UH, UCF, and BYU and Cincinnati are better.
Okay, but what's the point?
I think BYU is in a very similar situation. I think Cincinnati is in a very similar situation to Colorado. Now, again, I think the bottom where Colorado is now, talent-wise, they're at the bottom. BYU has done a really nice job in the transfer portal. And I think the new coaching staff, I think all of the things that are happening, they announced a massive renovation to their facilities today. Like BYU understands this is not a now proposition.
Yeah.
This is a going forward proposition. Every year we're going to try and get better. Right? Now, UCF I think is really talented. I think UCF, and I also know that UCF has a ton of speed, which helps you in college football. Houston's going to be really interesting to see, how does Houston assimilate? How does Houston adjust, and how much fat is on that roster? Because Houston is a tough out every single time.
Every time.
And we'll see. Ron McClure, USC will murder Prime. Well, that's a felony, so I doubt they're going to do that.
That's not going to happen.
That's just my opinion. I think, and I could be wrong.
Yeah,
you correct me.
Sure, yeah.
I believe in the lower 48, murder is still a felony. I mean,
you know who we should ask? Why don't we ask Ja Morant? See?
Stop. On Sunday, Coach Prime had one-on-ones with players from spring and told them where they stand. Now we see that many don't like where we stand. Well, and there's absolutely I feel like we're trying to find ways not to blame Deion Sanders. The word's not blame. The word is accept that this is his process.
Yes.
You just have to embrace they're going to be a 3-win team this year. And I would even go this far. If that team wins more than 3 games, that'd be phenomenal.
Yeah.
They win 5 games. If they do what you're convinced they're going to do, which is win games they're not supposed to win.
Yeah.
If they do that, hey, dude, let's go.
I think they're good for right now. If you had to ask me based on where the roster's at, I think you're good for one more win than the paper says. Well, you'll find a way.
Ooh.
You'll run into one more. Like, again, I know we've gone up and down the schedule, a million times, right? But when
what games are they not going to win? Let's humor this real quick.
Yeah.
On their schedule,
definitively, they're not going to win.
Win, loss, maybe.
Yeah.
TCU.
Loss.
At TCU.
Loss.
Nebraska.
You have
maybe.
to go, well.
Maybe.
Okay, maybe.
Because that game's at home.
Yeah.
That's in Boulder. It's going to be raucous. It's Deion's home opener.
Yeah, all right, maybe. We'll go maybe.
Colorado State, win.
Win.
At Oregon, loss.
Loss.
USC.
Loss.
At Arizona State.
See, that's what I'm highlighting as could be a maybe.
That's one. Look, it's a loss
I
now.
Need to massage,
but it could,
potentially massaged in stuff.
I've never taken steroids.
Yeah, well, you might want to consider it, all right?
It's October 7th. It's going to be humid.
Yeah.
And I would guess that's a primetime game.
Yeah.
That's a loss. Stanford win. At UCLA.
That's a maybe, depending on UCLA. That's a maybe, dude.
So you're not a Chip Kelly fan?
Never been a Chip Kelly fan.
Okay, I'll give you a maybe. Oregon State at home. In Boulder. Maybe.
Maybe.
DJ Uyunglele.
Yeah.
Arizona at home. Maybe.
See, I like that as a win, but
no,
you're high in Arizona.
All right, there's 2. There's 2 wins.
2. Yeah.
At Washington State. Maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
At Utah. Loss. You're done. That's 4.
So
if they get their maybes, that's 4.
That's 4 with 2 maybes. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like,
and listen, maybe, and when I say maybe, I mean, listen, maybe the Buffalo will run out onto the field. And hey, if he shits in the quarterback's face mask, there's nothing we could have done about that. Okay, so maybe if the Buffalo gets loose and burns a deuce.
If Deion puts on his brown leather gloves like he did in the video and unchains the Buffalo and they run through the A gap.
And maybe if he wears the cowboy hat.
Yeah.
And maybe.
Can we get a cowboy hat and some Louis sunglasses, please?
Because it's Louis.
Yeah, I'm coming.
That's what she said.
Me?
We should probably, James McKenzie. Prime will go 10-2 this year, then 40-20 with the baseball team. 40-20 with the baseball team.
Buddy rolled into the clubhouse. It was like, I'm coming, and it's Louisville Slugger.
And it's Louisville Slugger. Sebastis says James McKenzie impressive considering CU doesn't have a varsity baseball team. They do now. Travis Henry starting at all 9 positions.
Damn.
CKS, Colorado first chance to beat Utah, Oregon, etc. won't be till 2024 at the earliest.
Yeah, I'm saying 25, 26,
I would expect a year from now for them to compete in every game. I think they're gonna find themselves in some 40-10 games this year. Honest to goodness, I think
USC's a 50 spot.
They're going to have a tough time defensively.
USC will light them up.
Offensively, I think they'll be fine because he's got athletes. Defensively, they're going to struggle the first couple of years. Keith Carl, even if he's gaining 3, 4, 5-star talent, it still has to generate chemistry to create winning opportunities. And by the way, even if this is an excellent point. Not a good point, an excellent point, Keith Carl. And I want to call you Keith Hawk Carl, but I won't. Anyway, the point the point is, even if he's getting 3, 4, 5-star talent, how many 5-star talents turn into 5-star football players? So he's still got to show that at this level, he and his staff, who I think they're excellent, can teach a kid how to learn. Because just because you can teach a kid doesn't mean that kid can learn, right? Teach a kid show them how to learn and then apply all of that knowledge and that education onto the football field.
Yeah.
And I think that's very difficult to do. Keith, excellent point. Renee Roca, TCU was a 5-win team in 21. Coach came in and coached up the talent. Well, Sonny Dykes is lovely. And he completely changed the way they went about things defensively.
Yeah.
So, and he also changed, he made a bunch of really foundational changes. So we'll see. James says, yep, I was joking. Of course you were joking. Of course you were joking. We all know that. But I think the important thing is with Deion Sanders, I do think it's nice to have that level of excitement in the league.
Yeah.
I truly do. I think that.
Well, dude, if it wasn't for Deion, I'm not sure there would be a reason to talk about the Pac-12 outside of the TV deal.
Yeah, totally. And I think that it's nice not to be talking about the Pac-12 TV deal.
Yeah.
It truly is nice. And I hope that, listen, in a week from now, man, I hope it's over. Right? But it's actually nice to talk about, hey, X, Y, Z, this team, that team. It's nice to be talking football again. Because I feel like that period where the college football playoff ends into spring football is tough. But, I mean, one of the things that you can do with the Pac-12 is you can really look up and down this league now and you can see the improvement.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any doubt, and maybe there is, and I'm just not that bright of a guy, and I've been accused of that. But I just don't think there's any doubt that USC is head and shoulders the best team in this league. On paper, talent-wise, they are absolutely the best team in this league. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
I still maintain that Utah has a shot to be the second best team in this league. And Utah, just because of the way they play football, I mean, any week they can beat whoever they're going up against. It will absolutely be a dogfight against USC. There's no question in my mind. And that's why when we talk about Deion Sanders, you're just not going to compete at that level, right? And when USC and Utah hook up on the 21st of October at the Coliseum in Los Angeles, California.
Hell yeah.
I mean, who's not going to want to be at that game? Who's not going to want to watch that game?
Yeah, I mean, talk about SC having, some vitriol over what happened last year to them against Utah. I mean, you can't tell me Caleb Williams isn't going to, go into both of his games this year with them looking to prove a point.
By the way, have you guys seen the SC schedule? I don't know how many people know this. They have a cupcake schedule. San Jose State, Nevada, Stanford, at Arizona State, at Colorado, Arizona. Their first real test, and I don't even know that I would say that about this team, at Notre Dame on the 14th.
8-0.
And then they go straight downhill at Utah.
8-1.
Or home for Utah, rather.
Okay, 9-0.
9-0. I think it's very difficult to beat Lincoln Riley 3-4 straight times.
9-0.
At California.
10-0.
Home for Washington.
11-0.
At Oregon.
11-1
12-0. Versus UCLA on the 18th. They will beat Oregon.
Up there, dude.
They will beat, dude. Defensive. I'm happy to do it because defensively USC is far better.
Yeah.
USC is a superior football team to where they were last year. And again, Barry Alexander's not no little dude.
No, he's a big deal.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He is not a small guy. He is an absolute machine. He's an absolute machine. This hour of the show presented by our good friends at Papa Murphy's Pizza. Did you see the new pizza at Papa Murphy's Pizza? It's a Taco Grande.
Hi, I'm Kylie, and I make fresh, delicious Papa Murphy's Pizza.
Hi, I'm Zach, and I make the Papa Murphy's Pizza.
Sure, that's take and bake. We built it with the freshest ingredients. You bake it fresh in your oven.
By you mean me, so technically, I make the pizza.
Super good pizza, Kylie.
Oh, Kylie, so good. Right now, enjoy big-time taco flavors on a pizza with the limited-time Taco Grande. Papa Murphy's, change the way you pizza.